go.
Well, the basic operation of these kilns, it's a very straightforward thing. After you've loaded your kiln, say you want to do a bisque firing, okay? Everything is greenware, it's not been fired yet. So you have a Crest model kiln. Crest is a brand that has a master power switch, okay? So if you don't see that lighted switch on and you don't see anything up on the display, this kiln is off, okay?
What does that mean when you turn it on?
It's flashing right now. It's flashing right now in when it says idle, it means that the kiln has power to it,
right.
but the kiln isn't on or running. It's not doing anything. It's sitting here idle.
That 2.2?
And that 2.2, well, it looks like your kiln is set not in Fahrenheit, but it's set into Celsius.
Why?
Maybe whoever wants to fire this kiln wants to read his temperatures in Celsius.
No, we don't. I'm sure they don't.
Okay.
Well, how do we go to Fahrenheit? I mean, in other words, when we go to Cone 05, we don't read Celsius or Fahrenheit anyway. It just does it, whether it's Celsius or Fahrenheit, correct?
You have a button here
Yeah.
that says Fahrenheit or Celsius select. So if we hit this, we should be able to. Oh, okay. So this this button has a lot of different options. By scrolling through this, it allows you to do different types of things like programming, a preheat, lots of different things for getting into the programming of this thing. As a general user, it's not something that you want to do.
Okay.
You could go from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So what I did, I hit this button until it said change degrees. I hit enter, and then I hit 1, and it changed from Celsius to Fahrenheit. There's a little dot that was down by the Celsius earlier. And now if you look at this, it says 69. There's no dot next to the Celsius down here like there was before. So now it's reading in Fahrenheit.
Let me get over here because of the light.
Yeah. So now it's flashing. I'm idle. I'm the power is on, but I'm not doing anything.
So let me just to re-clarify that. You went to this.
I hit F or C.
Yep.
Right. Now it says change degrees. Okay, between Fahrenheit and Celsius. Now if I hit enter, it's currently on Fahrenheit. If I hit 1, it changes to C, and then it puts a little dot here that reminds you, hey, I am in C.
Right.
Okay? If I hit it again,
back to Fahrenheit.
it goes back to Fahrenheit.
Yeah, let's leave it at that.
And then when I hit enter, it kind of records that, and it says, yeah.
Not important. It shouldn't change because there's really no reason, correct?
So, yeah, either someone wanted to be reading this in C, maybe they're European, or they hit this button and tried to do something with it and ended up somewhere else. So this is reading 69 degrees inside the kiln right now, measuring with the thermocouple going through the wall.
So that's the temperature. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And it's idle. It's not doing anything. So if you wanted to do a basic firing using the pre-programmed settings that this has for different firings, you want to use this strip here as the first thing that you do. You want to do something called a cone fire.
Right.
All right. So from idle, and if this is flashing something other than idle, it means that it had recently completed a firing and it was displaying things about that firing that happened, like the hours, how long it took, the temperature that's inside, and it might say it's complete. You can always hit stop during something like that if you wanted to get the kiln back to idle. Okay, back to idle. And then once you're in idle, you hit the cone fire button.
Right.
And it's going to, right now it's starting. It's asking you what cone do you want to fire to.
That should be 5 for Bisque.
Okay. Normally a good Bisque fire temperature based on the fact that you're not doing cone 10 firing, a decent cone fire Bisque cone would be either 0.5 or 0.4. Let's say this was on something else and I wanted it to be 0.4.
Right.
0.4 is a good Bisque temperature. It's hot enough to burn out most stuff that's in clay so that you have a little bit better glaze firing afterwards. So after you hit 0.4, you hit enter and it records that. Now it's going to ask me,
What's MSLO mean?
what it's asking me right now is speed, SPD.
Yep.
And currently it's on medium, slow. That's this.
Right.
Okay? If I just hit this, it'll be medium. If I hit medium fast,
So it's asking you next
fast,
time you hit enter.
slow,
Yeah.
okay? Now, generally speaking, for bisque firing, okay? In bisque firing in general, you're going to do one of these, okay?
Slow or medium slow.
Slow or medium slow. If you know that your stuff has been sitting here on these racks in the sun next to the kiln for 2 weeks,
Right.
and it's all thin wear, you don't have any super thick, heavy sculptures or something like that, you could probably go medium slow.
What's
okay?
the default would be just slow. Would that really be?
If you're not completely sure, if everything is super dry, if you have some thicker sculptures, okay? If I was to fire a sculpture, even if it's been sitting in the sun here drying on these shelves, I would still go slow. So to me, a default is to fire a bisque slow. If I know it's all thin, small wear,
Right.
that's definitely dry, you can go
Is
faster.
that just a difference in time?
It's the rate of rise of temperature is
Right,
the difference.
yeah.
Okay, so you want to choose slow or medium slow. Say we had a mixture of small things, big things. We had a sculpture in there. We would choose slow. Okay, and then you hit enter to record that. Okay, the last thing it's going to ask you in this mode is hold. Okay, a hold is at temperature. It's once it comes up to cone 04.
Right.
Do I want to hold at cone 04? Generally speaking, with a bisque, you aren't holding. You're just going up to 04. You're hitting 04, and then
Really?
and then you stop. So what you're seeing here is hold, and then you're seeing 0.00. Okay, that is hours and minutes.
Okay.
To the hours to the left, minutes to the right. Now, if I were to hit 2, that would be 2 minutes.
Right.
If I hit 0, the 2 moves over. Now I have 20 minutes.
Right.
If I hit 0 again, 2 hours, 0 minutes. If I hit 0 again, 20 hours.
I gotcha.
Okay? If I hit 0 again, it's only going to record what you're viewing here on the panel. So basically, it wiped it out. It's not going to do 2,000 hours, okay? Because I hit extra zeros.
20, go back to 20. I'm sorry. I want to go with that.
So if you wanted a 2-minute hold, a 20-minute hold, a 2-hour hold, a 20-hour hold, if you hit it again, once you get to all zeros, it wipes it out.
Okay.
It's 0.
So
again.
we're at the point now where we've selected a slow, and then it asks for hold.
It asks for a
So
hold
we're deciding-
at temperature.
And in a bisque,
And
we're not holding.
In a bisque, we don't hold. So we leave it zeros, or say it had 50 minutes on it, we would hit 0 until
Why
it were
would you hold?
clear. With a bisque, there's really no reason, but in a glaze, you could. And I'll do a glaze one here after this. So once you're at 0, you hit enter again. This kiln goes back to idle. Okay. Now there's one other option that this controller doesn't have default in the cone fire mode, but it's one that you can enter. Remember when I hit this to do the Fahrenheit or Celsius? If you hit this and you keep hitting it until you see preheat. Now I think I hit it 5 times or 6 times.
Right.
Once I see preheat, a preheat is just what you think it is. It's before this thing starts the cone fire mode that I just programmed. I can hit this button until it says preheat. Then I can hit enter to select a preheat.
Right.
Now it's going to ask me, hey,
How long?
of a preheat do you want it to hold? Maybe I have a big thick sculpture in there. I think it's dry because it's been sitting in the sun, but I'm a little worried because it's so thick that it might heat up too fast and I might blow up my sculpture. You can put in something like a 600, a 6-hour preheat.
Okay.
Now the preheat is only it's gonna slowly raise the kiln temperature up to, I think it varies by model, but anywhere between 180 and 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
That is below the boiling point of water, so you don't
Blow it.
don't blow it up because of the water expanding out, boiling, but it brings it up to a point where it's going to make it hot enough for that thing to start to dry completely.
So it's a good idea. It's not really something that's not used a lot. It's something you could use.
Exactly. In this model kiln, it isn't built into the default programming. But after you enter your program, after you do your cone fire program, and you hit this until you get it to preheat and you hit enter, you could enter a 6-hour preheat. And now I entered 6 hours. I hit enter, it put it in,
right?
And now to begin firing, because we're back at idle, it's just waiting for us to do something. If I hit this button start, it says on. In a moment or two, you should hear the clicking.
Yep.
The clicking is the kiln sending power through to the relays. That snapping noise, that clicking is the relay opening and closing to send power through to the elements. That noise right there. If I ever I'm not sure of what I did, I can stop it.
Now, how long if you stop it? Can you do it?
If I hit stop, okay, I hit stop. It'll say stop and it'll go back to idle. If I just wanted to check and make sure I had something in the kiln, you only want to open the kiln if it's if it's around room temperature, maybe a little warmer than room temperature. After, you can burn yourself at 100 something or 200 degrees on something.
Just opening it with hot air.
So say I just started, but hey, I forgot to put one piece in. You can hit stop. You can open up, put one more piece in, close the lid, and if I hit start again, it's going to do the exact last thing that I did. Unless you reprogram it and enter a different firing, every time you hit start, it's going to run the same thing.
So if I have a Bisque, one just for Bisque, you could almost set it preheated for 2 hours and it would run every time.
Yep. So the next time you do a cone fire, I'm going to hit stop on this because we have an open kiln. And the next thing you would do normally after you do a Bisque fire, you're going to do a glaze fire.
Right.
Okay. Now, in idle, to do that glaze fire, we're again going to hit the cone fire button.
Right.
The last thing we did was an 04 Bisque. So if all I did was hit enter, it's going to stay on 04. It's going to stay on slow.
Right.
It's going to stay on 0 hold.
Right.
And now I've programmed something. Now, if I wanted it to do that preheat, I would, because I went through this process, I'm going to have to put that preheat in again.
Okay.
Okay. So each time you do something here, it's going to.
So the preheat is predicated on the program you put in.
Exactly.
It's going to go
the preheat. The preheat is kind of wiped out the next time you enter something.
But preheat on glaze probably isn't as important as on Bisque.
Correct. And generally I don't do a preheat on glaze unless for some strange reason I just glazed my piece and it's still wet and I stick it in the kiln. That's not a good practice. So avoid doing that if you can. But if for some reason you had to, you could put an hour of preheat on
to make sure
that you've dried your glaze completely before it actually starts going up in temperature.
That would be the case,
but that's
good to know.
Yeah. So in idle, if I wanted to do
let's go for glaze. We're going glaze.
If I wanted to do a glaze fire from idle, again I would hit cone fire because we're firing predicated on using, say, a mid-fire cone 6 glaze.
6.
I would hit 6 and 6 only.
Right.
Okay, not 06, but 6. And I would record what I entered by hitting enter.
Right.
6, enter. Speed. Now, generally speaking, I will fire my glazes at a faster speed, okay? If I were, I'm one usually for going fast, but if I've got a pretty full load and I have some glazes that develop a little bit later in the firing, I would go down to maybe a medium fast.
Medium or fast, medium fast or fast, and medium down here and medium slow is not.
That's all predicated to more very specific types of glazes that really like a slow development to get their color or texture or surface.
If you get a recipe that says this should be
best fired slow or something,
then
you could choose another speed. But generally, I would say Medium fast is a good sort of all-around
Okay.
speed for
Well, that's
most,
where I
most
think
glazes.
we're basically at, because we don't have the technical.
So we have medium fast. And then you hit enter to
Right.
record it. Now, the hold is more prevalent in glaze firing, where a preheat is more prevalent in
Right.
bisque fire. So you can enter a hold, and it's a good idea because some of these models of kilns, especially these round top load kilns, they can fire unevenly a little bit
Sure.
top to bottom. So a hold of only like 10, 15, or 20 minutes is a good idea. Just so that the kiln is, instead of the kiln reading the temperature by the thermocouple in one spot in the kiln,
Yeah.
it's sitting at that temperature for a short amount of time. It's sitting at that cone 6 for a short amount of time so that it helps ensure that
It gets it.
it's saturated with that temperature all the way through the kiln. All the way to the center of the kiln, to the floor of the kiln, it's all cone 6.
So in our case, we're always going to be firing, if this works correctly, less stuff.
Yeah,
So it's better to have a hole to assure.
to assure that the entire kiln,
Right.
top to bottom, center to floor and top, has kind of sat at cone 6 for, and I put in 11 minutes. You could put in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but I think
Yeah.
a small hold at the end or at a cone when you're doing a glaze fire is a good thing. Say you had a glaze that had certain materials that made it outgas or bubble a little bit during the firing. A small hold at the end can give that glaze time to release the gas from that
then
bubble
come back down.
and then come back down and heal the bubble.
So
So
you-
it's
you
a
learn this
small
as you're doing-
practice.
This
Yeah.
is this is why you have to practice glazing
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because you learn.
So I put in an 11-minute hold, and I hit enter, it records it, and now we're back to idle. So it took that
Right.
program. Now,
Now,
if I want to start that program, all I hit is
If
start.
I wanted to preheat now, though.
Well, yeah,
Then
if
I
you
would
want to
hit this,
preheat,
then put
I
on
would hit
preheat.
this
then
until
go
you
in.
hit
right there.
preheat.
And then I put in, let's say, 15.
Enter.
Yeah.
and, you know,
High time and
15 minutes of
Right.
preheat time, enter. And then it goes back to idle. So now what it's going to do, it's going to go up to that 180 to 200 degrees, sit for 15 minutes,
Right.
and then it's going to kick into the program. It's
Gotcha.
going to do a medium fast up to cone 6,
Right.
and then it's going to hold that cone 6 for 11 minutes. And then it's going to turn itself off. It's going to cool down. It will say, after the firing, it's going to say complete. It's going to flash the current temperature. And it's, with most models of kilns like this, it's going to flash a number, a dot, and another number. That's how long the firing took.
Okay.
It may say 8.15. That
hours
means
and 15
it took 8 hours and 15
Okay.
minutes to run that program. So it's giving you data. It's telling you I'm complete. It took 8 hours and 15 minutes to fire, and it's currently at 500 degrees. And if you stood there and watched it, you'll
drop.
see that 500 degrees, they'll go to 498,
So
495.
don't drop it unless it's under 100 if you have to look in there.
If you got to look in there, wait till room temperature is the best thing. But you know, if you need it to peak or you want it to help cool the kiln off a little bit in the last 200 degrees, you could crack the kiln open. You could slide a brick under
Right.
here, and that'll help cool it the last couple hundred degrees. And if your kiln is just not in use at all, you just hit the master power switch. It's gone. It's off. Then you could lock it up so nobody gets to it, and you're.
Let me ask you a question. What's it, bisque firing, as we've discussed, what's the time that'll take up to down? So,
Depends on a couple things. If you chose medium, slow, or slow. If you
well, we're going to go, we discussed slow, right? I mean, I'm trying
so
to get it
with a
basic.
pre-programmed kiln like this, count on, if you're going to fire slow, count down at least 24 hours from the time you hit a button to the time
Right.
you open a lid. Because it's probably going to fire, if you chose slow on this kiln, it's going to probably fire in 12 hours, 13 hours for that slow rise in firing. If you were to choose fast, it's probably going to fire in 5 hours.
Right.
So that's about your scale. That's sort of 5 to 6 hours to 12 or 13 hours is that scale. Fast, medium, medium, slow, slow.
So 12, 5 to 12.
Somewhere around 5 to 12.
Right.
Okay? Right about that range. And always figure you're going to spend at least a day, especially if you chose slow, maybe more than 24 hours before you can open up your kiln, because it's going to take that 13 hours to get to temperature. But that bisque is only at low fire temperatures. So it was a protracted firing, and then it's cooling, and it's going to cool for probably at least 12 hours.
Okay.
Okay? And that's going to put you at that 24-hour mark, right around there, before it's cool enough for you to open. But when you think about your glaze fired faster, only got there in 6 hours, but it went to a higher temperature than your bisque did.
So glaze.
So it's going to take longer to cool than your bisque did because you went to a higher temperature, right?
Right.
So you make up a little bit in the firing time because it's a shorter firing, but it went to a higher temperature, so it's going to take a little bit longer to cool. So either way, you're looking at least a day.
So we
from
come
when you started.
right now. You and I start this. I come back tomorrow at noon. I could probably pop it.
If we started right now, you could probably come back tomorrow at noon, and you could probably pop the lid open. It may still say a couple of 100 degrees, and you don't load it that day if everything went right. And,
Right.
and
But you
it's
could
perfect.
unload it that day later. Unload it.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
So, let me ask you a question. Again, one of the areas of contention have been, well, we don't have a lot of stuff. Well, there's a couple options. Buy a smaller kiln, right? In other words, buy a less of a capacity kiln. And the contention is we need more things in there to help conduct the heat, is what we're talking about. To help have as a conductor. The more stuff, the more we're going to get an even flow of heat. That's the argument.
Well, on the way up, the ceramic projects are a heat sink.
Right.
The ceramic pieces are absorbing that energy on the way up.
Right.
Okay. And after it's been fired, they are conducting heat. They are releasing that heat slowly. So they're still a heat sink. They're holding onto that heat and they're slowly dissipating the heat. So firing a kiln that is completely full will make the kiln cool a lot slower. If equal amount of energy is put in, it may take longer to reach temperature, to fire, because it's absorbing all that heat. So, apples to apples, a kiln that's sort of half full may fire a little faster and maybe a little bit more efficiently than a kiln that is full of stuff. And a kiln that is only half full will cool faster than a kiln that is full. So there's this trade-off. It might fire faster on the way up because it's cooler and drop faster on the way down because there's less mass inside. But will it really affect an individual piece? Is it good for the piece to have it full, or good for the piece to have more open space around it and less pieces? In my experience, it doesn't make a difference.
Like right here, this plus a couple of pieces is what we're living with, right? I'm saying it's not a lot, but again, you could.
Well, yes. If that's all you had and you wanted those things, then you could put them in and you could fire them.
Well, let me ask you a question. Could you put?
And would it hurt those pieces? Would it be bad for those pieces in any way? No.
Okay. Well, this is what we're dealing with. We're just not going to be like Higher Fire, that has masses of people putting stuff, but we have people here that want to get their product turned around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could, as soon as things are dry, you could stack them up here, and maybe you just fire on a schedule.
Like once a week.
You fire once a week, you fire once every other week, and maybe just say you post a schedule. We're going to do a bisque.
Right.
Twice a month. We're going to do a glaze twice a month. So that's a firing a week, right? You're going to do a bisque, then you're going to do a glaze fire. You're going to do a bisque, then you're going to do a glaze fire. And if you just say, hey, on every other Saturday we're going to do a bisque, and every other...
Well, that's what the people need to know.
Every other week we're going to do a glaze.
Right.
then you post it here, then people go, okay, my pieces are dry, then it motivates them to want
Right.
to get it on the shelf so that it can get into this firing that's coming
Right.
up.